man.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to CasualCast episode 13. I'm Alex Whitehair, and joining me, I have Chris Puner,
Yo, what's up?
Rick Vavishu,
Hey guys, how's it going?
Alex Henderson,
Stop.
and Nick Cooper.
It's unlucky episode 13. We've already lost somebody.
Yeah, Hillman actually, in a very tragic accident, he was driving home and calling us to tell us that he died in a car accident, and then he actually got lost, and we haven't heard from him since. So
What? That was last week.
No, I know. Hillman's not feeling well. He's he's out
He's
for the count.
dead.
He's sleeping.
He's got a case of the death.
We should have a segment of the show actually where we get like Nick on a laptop and him to just like sneak into Hillman's room and just record Hillman sleeping. Have that be one of the panels on like the stream.
Have it just like a
Well-
looping gif of him just like breathing, like laying down
Get
on
him a
his
phone.
He is a really, really heavy sleeper.
Yeah,
too.
he is.
Yeah,
Um,
whenever his
He also sleeps deeply.
alarm goes off at 7 o'clock, so he'll like I can hear it in here. And he doesn't turn it off until it just gives up. The alarm clock will just stop going.
Oh
Not
my
because
God.
he's awake, but just because the phone's like, okay, whatever, I'm done.
Like 10 minutes done. Like
Yeah, like
oh
10
my
minutes
gosh.
done.
Wow. I know over the summer I had a LAN party at my house and he fell asleep in the reclining chair in the family room and just slept through everybody packing up their stuff and leaving and stuff. And it got to the point where like I at probably like 4 or 5 in the morning went upstairs and just went to bed. And like, you know, I woke up and everybody was gone except for like 1 or 2 people on the couch and Hillman in the recliner. So the people on the couch, they all wake up at like a normal time, pack up their stuff and leave. And it's just Hillman still sleeping in the recliner. And I was like, well, you know, he must be really tired. We'll leave him. So we're like moving tables, get the whole house put back together. Everything is clean. Like, my girlfriend at the time was over and stuff. So like we had everything done. And it's like, well, like, I think we're gonna go out to lunch, but Hillman's still sleeping. So we just go and like I woke up and I'm like, hey Hillman, hey buddy, hey, and he's just not waking up. And so like I put my hand on his shoulder and I started like gently like rocking him. I'm like, Hillman, and he's just not waking up. And like if he weren't like snoring so loud, I would have thought he had died. But yeah, so that was my Hillman sleeping story. That was pretty funny. I can't imagine living with that. Do you hear him snoring through the walls?
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
No, I probably
I had a
snore too,
roommate like
so-
that while I was still in the dorms at school. Like, I can sleep through a fucking tornado now. Like, it just... He sounded like a diesel pickup truck, you know, starting. It was bad.
Oh, God. I guess I got lucky. The one semester that I was in the dorms, my roommate was really, really cool. And we had very similar sleep schedules in that we both stayed up very, very late and slept in very late. So that worked out. It wasn't like I was trying to go to bed at like 10 o'clock and he was staying up till like 3 every night. Because that would have sucked and would have been not very fun.
Ooh, there was also one guy on the floor in my freshman year who on occasion would wake both Frank and myself up with his alarm clock on the other side of the floor because he would have it turned all the way up, hooked up to a set of nice speakers, and let it run for 30 minutes to wake him up.
What?
Wow.
We could hear it clearly from the other side of his door, and it was just like, dude, what? Needless to say, he did not get along well with his first roommate.
How did the RA or whatever not just be like, dude, knock it off?
He was a pushover,
No.
like to an extreme degree.
So, if you were gonna keep talking about that, keep going. But I had something specific I
That's all I
wanted to talk about this week.
Yeah,
guys are
what's
down.
up?
All right, so I have been listening to a bunch of podcasts this week, and they were talking about on one specifically. I listened to the Joe Rogan Experience, because I love Joe Rogan. Rick, do you know who Joe Rogan is?
I listened to that podcast for like 2 or 3 months, and then
Yeah.
it's really polarizing. Like, some of it's really interesting, and some of it is clearly like bullshit. Like, so a lot of the scientific stuff gets way into the realm of like, this is just nothing is
Right.
real
Well,
about this.
I like when he has Duncan Trussell on, and they both just get high and then record a podcast together.
Yeah, that stuff's it's fun to listen to them like joke because
Yeah.
he is a comedian. Like when
They
they're
both
doing,
are.
like,
Yeah.
when they have comedians on and stuff
Yeah.
like and like
Ari
novelists
Schaefer.
and stuff, that
Yeah.
stuff's great.
Yeah, but every once in a while they have just like, oh, this is my buddy from school, and he's really political and has a lot of opinions that I'm not quite sure about. But usually I suss out the ones that he has with people um, that I know that I'm going to like. So when Duncan is on, I'll basically look for those. But they were talking about when I was listening to one that was like, I think from a few weeks ago, just today in the car, and they were talking about animals. And if you know anything about me, I really love animals. Specifically,
Especially fish.
I hate fish. I hate fish so much. They were talking about bears being cannibals. Bears eat other bears. And I had no
I did
idea
not know that.
that was the case. I know that animals like gerbils will eat their young and stuff, but I didn't know that bears also did so.
Well, like, all right. So I guess my question is, outside of like the realm of like us being humans, like there's not, and like empathizing with what we're eating, there's nothing like inherently wrong about like cannibalism. Like I think in the rest of the world, it's kind of just a matter of survival. Like food is food, right?
There is like serious health issues with it in humans, though, and I'd assume that there can be similar issues with animals
yeah.
being cannibals in the wild.
I mean, I'm
but-
sure there's a high mercury content, and I'm just kidding. But we put a lot of chemicals into our bodies. I'm sure that our meat just isn't good for consumption. Well, you know what I mean?
No, like, isn't like I think they're called prions or something like that. I know there's a couple of diseases that are like unique to like human cannibals. Like I can't for the life of me remember. Any. I'll
Really?
look some of these up real quick. Like go keep talking.
That's
They're
interesting.
really bad at making friends.
Well, I was talking less about like human cannibalism, more just about it like with every other species. Like I don't think it's really like inherently that bad of a thing. Like I think it's just something that happens, right?
I mean, fish eat
Like,
fish,
Yeah,
which is fine with Chris.
Yeah.
I hate fish so much.
Dogs
Yeah,
eat dogs.
dogs.
Dog eat dog world.
Dude,
Dogs are dogs.
I think that's just a saying. I don't think dogs actually eat other dogs.
No, I'm
Well,
pretty sure that's what it
I'm
means.
sure that happens sometimes.
I mean, I'm sure that
Yeah,
happens.
like-
Yeah, but I don't know why it was so striking for me to hear that they were talking about bears specifically, because I kind of see them as sort of more intelligent mammals. Although I suppose that's an unfounded sort of bias.
But
I mean,
like, put it this way: what if you're a big bear, right? And you've carved out your turf, right? You've like lived here your whole life. It's your place, and some guy just like moves in and just like, yo, I'm gonna live here too. And you're like, no. So you end up like fighting him to defend your territory, end up killing him. Like you're just gonna let that body rot there? No, you're gonna eat it. Like you just fucking killed a bear. Like
Right.
you're not gonna put all that energy to waste.
I suppose. I don't know. Nature is weird. It makes me now, especially now that I have like not only just a philosophy like interest, but also I did that thing on the birds, which I don't think I've actually talked about on CasualCast yet.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You've talked about it on. We've talked about it before.
I
At
think
least once somewhere.
I talked about it on Leaguecast very, very briefly, and then it wasn't the place to do so, so I didn't talk about it. Yeah, my independent research project. Did I talk to you about this, White Hair, ever?
No, I don't know what you're
I've
talking
heard you
about.
mention it a couple times.
Oh, okay. Well, if you guys didn't know, maybe I only talked to Rick. So in my senior year, which was last year of college, I did I have a philosophy degree, so I was studying philosophy, so I had to do something related to that. But I really like animals. I want to do something with that as well. I'm really into neuroscience as well. So basically, I chose to do a thing with there was a teacher at my school at the time who was also into animal cognition as well. So I worked.
Unidam?
Huh?
Was it Unidam?
No.
No, the jack dog.
But we had both read this book called The Philosopher and the Wolf, which is the main reason why I wrote I wanted to write this paper or do this research project, where basically he was talking about like the morality of animals, and specifically like wolves, and like how they have the pack mentality and how they have family and stuff like that. Really interesting stuff, right? So anyway, there is a specific type of bird, a subclass called corvids, and they're basically like notable in difference mostly by brain size. And if you think about it per mass, though, in comparison to, oh man, I'm getting a reminder on my phone about Leadcast recording. Wow, that's not now. The size of the brain ratio of corvids to their body mass is the same as chimpanzees' ratio. Corvids being birds like crows, finches, stuff like that.
Checked up.
Oh no, not finches. I'm so sorry.
Warfinches.
No, not not warfinches. No,
Crows are disgustingly smart, though.
jackdaws. Yes, crows are really smart, and that was pretty much the ravens as well. That was the main focus of my paper was crows, and like a lot of observational experiments and data that they collected on them and stuff like that. So basically, what I was doing in this paper was making the claim that crows have some sort of moral. They acknowledge morality in a way. It's different from ours, but they have it. And I did this by trying to prove a couple of things. First of all, that they deceive each other, right? Because human brains, if you go back and you look at why they developed the way that they did, it was so that they could lie to each other for survival reasons. That's where you see the biggest growth in cranium size and stuff like that. And so if we could prove that they lie to each other, that would help give ground to making a case for them having morality as well. Secondly, prosociality. So basically, that is them living socially together and acknowledging that other crows are what they are, which is other crows. And understanding that you as the crow, seeing that other crow is also a crow and like them and think like them. And you can pretty much suss this out by studying behaviors and stuff like that. Any questions so far?
Well, the one thing was, and I think we talked about this the very first episode we recorded, brain like mass to body mass ratio is not a measure of intelligence specifically. It's
right.
Instead, it's just brain mass is a good measure of cognitive
No,
but not their mass.
The ratio is better than actual brain mass. You have it backwards, I believe.
I'm on the Wikipedia page, but
I think I'm not quite sure. Because like if you have a giant animal, of course it's going to have a big brain because it needs a bigger brain in order to move its body.
Here, hold on.
Isn't frontal lobes? Isn't that like a?
Yes,
like
but
the
also
size of those?
human brains are also stratified differently than birds. Birds is like one big lump, and then
Why are birds so complicated?
I'd have to really like dig out this paper and talk about specific things, but I mean I'd like to just cover the basic thing, and then like next week I can bring out something specific if you guys care about it. But so like a couple of the stuff that I was like looking at and pulling to prove those 2 points specifically. There was a third point, but it's not important for right now. But like the deception thing was like it also works with prosociality in a way. So basically, what these crows would do is that we would watch them cache food. So like they would hide food and stuff like that, right? So they would have a crow. They would give him a bunch of nuts, and he would go, and their basic instinct is to cache it, to put it away and save it. They're kind of like chipmunks in a way, like this. And what they would do is they would also have another crow in that cage, like watching them do it. And crows are known for pilfering other caches as well. So the crow that was making the first cache, if he knew that he was being observed by the other crow, but so like by seeing him, he would cache the food and then leave like nothing happened. And then they would remove the observer crow, and then that crow would come back and move it when he knew he wasn't being observed.
That's really cool.
It's crazy. So basically that means that they know that what they're looking. They're like, oh, that's another crow. What would I do if I was that crow? Oh, I would steal this cache because I know where it is. Also, they have a sense of time, which is the third point out of the three. I said I wasn't into it, but I was going to. If they gave this crow two types of food to cache, one being nuts, which doesn't perish, and then a perishable food source like berries, they would go and cache them in two separate locations, right? And then they would remove this crow from this environment and then bring him back like 5 days later when the berries had like rotted out. And they would only go back to where the nuts are because they knew that the berries were bad.
Oh man.
Isn't that disgustingly cool?
Yeah.
I'm like, like I try to explain to somebody, I'm like, this is really cool, and they don't get it. And then I start talking about specific experiments like this, and they're like, holy shit, that's interesting. I didn't think crows would be that interesting, but they are. They're super, super cool. So anyway, they deceive each other by like knowing when they're being observed and moving things around, and they steal from each other, but they acknowledge other people, other crows exist and stuff like that. So I'll talk about specifics, I guess, in the next episode. I don't want to do my research and then the experiments I was reading injustice by not doing it correctly without having it in front of me. I also don't want to talk about neuroscience and not know specifics because I'd sound like an idiot. There were certain brain structures, like frontal lobes was like, yes, we developed that because we had social hierarchy, like in our groups of humans when they were like basically just tribal people. And that stuff blew up when it was like, oh, well, now we have to talk and communicate. And now I want to be able to lie to somebody else for benefit and also be able to tell when other people are lying to me. So like that is a huge amount of brain power to do that. And so we have one lobe that's basically just for that. But we also have folds in our brain and stuff like that, and interconnected parts where like our lobes are connected in different ways, and it's layered as such. And then there's neurons
like
and like Shrek,
Like an ogre.
like
Like Shrek.
and there are certain things that go through the brain that connect all the lobes together and the layers and stuff like that. So we have easy access to each of them and stuff like that. It's just complex in that way. So we can have multiple connections in a very small amount of space. We also have a huge brain, so we have a ton of connections in a big space as well, right? For birds, it's all just one solid brain structure. It's all one layer. And so they don't have as many connections. It's not as efficient as our brain is for that sort of thing. But there is evidence to suggest that they also have an increased, what would be their equivalent of a frontal lobe in that sort of brain structure among birds. It's very interesting.
Before you were talking about like all the different pieces that like link the parts of the brain. I remember reading in my psychology class a study about there was a person, I don't remember if it was a cure for epilepsy or what, but they ended up slicing one of those bridges that was the bridge between the left and the right hemisphere, and there were a lot of really, really weird side effects that came with that, because like the right side of your brain controls the left half of your body, including your left eye, and the left brain the right side. And so like the different sides of the brain also process things differently. And so like they would put him in situations where there'd be a divider like in the middle of his face, so that one eye was seeing something totally different than the other one. And there would be stuff like a written word, and I can't remember the exact specifics, but it was something along the lines where like he wouldn't recognize the word but could like picture it vividly. Like he couldn't read it consciously, but like it just came to mind what it was.
It was the reverse of that, I think. I think they showed them pictures of things, and then they asked them to write them down, and they couldn't do it. Like, they just could not process how to write that word. But they knew what it was. They could say what it was, but they couldn't write it, or something like that.
Yeah, I just remember there was a really weird, like, dissociation between, like, ability to, like, recognize, like, words and stuff and actual items and stuff. And, like, but then, when they remove the barrier and, like, both eyes are seeing it, both sides of the brain are getting the input, like, they could do it just fine like a normal person. But when you split it like that, it was really interesting.
It's terrifying.
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, the part of the brain that we were talking about specifically before, the prefrontal cortex. And then the equivalent in avian brains, specifically corvids, is the nidopatlium quadrilaterate, or just NCL, which it's shortened to most of the time. And
you guys get that written down at home.
It serves the same functions as bridging time, controlling mental shifts, and making complex decisions. And then basically that opens up the door for cross-analysis with other animals, if we're talking about like also experiments done on like primates to talk about their testing their prefrontal cortex, and then having a part that's serves the same purpose in an avian brain. You can also make the same arguments then. It's interesting, if nothing else. Brain size alone is not sufficient for arguing the capacity of morality. I'm reading from my paper right now. It does offer an insight of what sorts of behavioral activities we can expect from a certain creature or agent. So, corvids specifically. It's cool. Yeah, this is what I spent my entire semester on. It was really interesting things. So it was deception, prosociality, and future planning, which was the time dilation sort of thing. Yeah. I can stop talking about this. I've been talking a lot about it.
So what's up with Fallout 3?
You've been playing it, haven't you? Yeah.
I started playing it again to start trying to stream it this week.
Mm-hmm.
And I streamed it once last Thursday for like an hour and a half, I think, or so. Is that game supposed to be fun? Like, cause I can't tell.
It's a lot like Skyrim. If you didn't enjoy Skyrim, you won't enjoy Fallout 3. I mean,
Cause I'm trying
it's
not
an
to
open
kill
world
people.
RPG where you're supposed to find all of the neat, interesting things rather than them feeding them to you.
Yeah, I'm trying not to kill people. I only got through doing what's it called? The vault because that takes
Yeah.
a long time.
Tunnel snakes rule.
Whatever. And
God.
yeah, first off, it's weird that like they treat you like a male. Like I played as a girl,
Yeah.
and they treat you like a boy anyway. Like as if they only wrote one type of dialogue and it was for a guy, and
Hey,
they're like, oh,
man.
you can be a girl if you want.
Hey man, they're all feminist in that vault. There's no discernible difference.
Yeah, just like when I pick my race, and it can be Caucasian, Mexican,
Or Khajiit.
Asian, or African American.
Haha!
Like I was like, what? Like that's not a race.
Could you be Native American?
No
+2 to all crossbows.
crossbows.
Wow. There's no
Yeah,
crossbows.
no, there's no
crossbows in Fallout
Yeah.
3.
There is?
No.
Oh, that'd be crazy.
Have you never played it?
Yes, I played Fallout 3. It was more of a generic sort of like fantasy world sort of joke, but
Oh, okay.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. Like I don't know. I think
At
it
this
might.
point, it's honestly probably starting to age enough to the point where it's just like, ugh.
Well, the thing
Yeah.
is like that game. Oh, I mean, you're talking about like mechanic wise or visual wise because
Both.
Fun wise.
you weren't having fun, Rick.
Yeah, it's all right. Like I feel like it. Every time I played the game, I've tried to play it 3 other times before, and I've only played it for about 2 hours, each time, maybe a little bit less. And the farthest I've gotten is I've gotten to whatever that first town is with the bomb in it.
Megaton.
Yeah, I've gotten the Megaton, and then I've done a quest for the lady who's doing research that takes you to the old abandoned like Walmart basically. And I've done that, and then I stopped playing. That's
I
the
feel like
farthest
that's
I've
right
gotten.
at the beginning of the game.
It is.
Yeah.
I've done that like 3 times, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. This is boring. Like, it's just nothing. I don't know. Like, there's nothing to keep me engaged, I guess. And that might just be because I don't like shooting things in games when I don't have to. And so I try to play passively, which
I did give up on that game once, and it pretty much boiled down to the fact that I didn't know you could freeze time in order to shoot in that game.
yeah, the whole system of
Yeah, the VATS. I didn't realize that was a thing. So I was running around, shooting the shit out of mole rats that are 10 times faster than me, being like, why won't this thing die?
I do like
And,
that if you use
20 hours later, I figure out, oh, well.
I do like that if
That
you use
solves
a
that
melee weapon
problem.
though. Like a melee weapon with that system is hilarious because you just aim for the head like 4 times, and if the first time kills them, you just keep hitting them over
Yeah.
and over and over again, even though they're already dead.
It's like what we did in Dying Light all over again.
Yeah.
Just
But,
you,
like-
Chris.
Dude, you gotta knock off all their limbs though.
But like that game is totally it's weird that you can play that game and there are stats for playing that game that kind of lead you to not trying to kill people,
Right.
but
It
It
is
seems
possible
like the game
be
doesn't want you to do
At least
that.
New Vegas without killing anything.
see that sounds really interesting to me. Maybe I'll play New Vegas instead because Fallout 3 doesn't seem to want me to do that.
It's not a recommended gameplay path because it's extremely difficult and annoying and it makes it unfun. But
Like,
somebody
that's-
has done it.
Then maybe that's why maybe I just won't play these games then cuz like it's not fun for me to just kill everything. So like and the game seems to really want me to do that and I don't want to.
Just
I
go
mean,
play
there's something
Bioshock.
super interesting about that game. Like all of those melee weapons are really silly or funny or kind of neat. Like I think one of my favorite ones there is the bumper sword. Because it's a super strong weapon and it's literally just a car bumper that has been carved into a point. You swing at people.
Yeah,
I
it's a
guess-
bumper.
I guess my frustration with like the fact that that game like calls itself an RPG is that I can't roleplay the game unless I'm doing it the way they want me to. Like I can roleplay how I kill people, but I still have to.
New
Like, it's a-
Vegas is infinitely superior to Fallout 3, I believe.
Well, if they had a game, Rick, where it was based around you choosing to fight things or not, then their entire skill tree and the combat system wouldn't be used.
I don't think that's true. I think people still like some people would want to kill things.
Right, no, I'm just saying, but like they would have to build an entire other alternative for you to do so, and then also,
Yeah.
in order so it didn't feel weird, have a way for you to flip in between. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
which
feel
is
like
interesting.
Elder Scrolls does a good job of that. They
Yeah.
have a lot of interesting NPC people. You can just walk around and talk to people if you want to.
Yeah, isn't
I
Mass
feel like
Effect
there's
like
some
that too?
situations where you can't get out of them without killing people. They're not just quests that say go kill like X or Y, but just like I feel like sometimes they just put you in situations where like it doesn't matter how much you've specialized in like deceiving people and sneaking and stuff, like you're just locked in a brightly
Yeah.
lit room and they're all just running at you with swords.
I'm pretty sure there are a couple of forced kill scenarios in 3. In New Vegas, I don't think that's the case, but
And that's what's cool about like there's games like Metal Gear where you like can kill everybody, but you don't have to. You can just knock everybody out and then
in Human Revolution you can do that, or Deus Ex, that is.
really.
Yeah, you can get through the entire game without killing any. Well, I'm sorry, you have to kill the bosses, but that's
Mirror's
basically bad
Edge.
design.
Mirror's Edge, you get an achievement for not killing anybody.
Dude, that game is sets you up to just die if you don't try to kill anybody.
Mirror's Edge.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
because
especially-
you're
people
just
there.
you're a thin parkour running girl, tiny, and like you against guys with guns. I mean,
yeah, the minute they throw you into that shopping mall, the circular one,
yeah.
they're basically like, you should use this gun, and we didn't actually program it to be fun, but
Yeah.
or good, or
Well,
which
she,
makes
she wouldn't know how to use a gun.
There is
like,
You feel like
technically
she
one
would at some
forced
point.
gun
Maybe.
use, but you use it to blow up like the engine block of a van.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I want more games where I can choose to like talk to people
Yeah.
as a means of completing things as opposed to just shooting them in the head.
Like just like a diplomatic option.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
do you guys know of any games that like will let me do stuff like that?
Yeah, Shadow of Mordor. I don't have to kill anybody in that game. I'm kidding.
Deus
I'm
Ex,
kidding.
Yeah, I know.
That's a
I know.
joke.
Talk your way through
It's like-
everything except for the boss fights.
Oh, Journey. You don't kill anything in that game.
Yeah, yeah.
You just
I mean,
You're not
stuff
given the
that-
opportunity,
you just
though.
chirp and float
Yeah.
around and
Stuff
cry.
with like actual interaction though, like verbal interaction.
Uh,
I'm not saying Destiny's like wait, you say Destiny? No, Journey.
No, Journey.
Journey's
No.
a great game.
Oh my
Journey's
god,
great.
Journey's so good. It's so good. It was a spiritual experience playing that game. For me, at least. I don't know.
I loved it. It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
You know what I wonder? I wonder if you could like play a game like World of Warcraft or RuneScape and just play the whole thing on like without ever killing anybody.
Yeah.
So only doing the gathering quest, like playing a rogue and just like strategically sapping people and like
Do you
trying to only
have
do
you
quests.
heard about that panda? That
No, I know there's a level 100 guy who still hasn't chosen if he wants to join the Horde or the Alliance yet.
well, he
Um,
also doesn't like kill anything. All he does is just pick herbs.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he can't kill anything because he's more than 8 levels higher than it. So I'm sure that's all he did for the first like 16 levels or whatever. Because yeah, that would be brutal. But yeah.
Yeah, but I don't want it to feel like I'm like
you
trying
hate
to-
yourself.
like I'm like, oh, I can do this without killing anybody. Like not like that. I just want to be like, yeah, you can kill this. You can do this without killing anybody if you want to. Like I don't want it to feel like I'm playing the system and then it's like, oh, that's really clever. Or, like good for him. Like it's just like, oh, that's how you played the game. That's cool. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to stick it to the
Well,
developers
You
by
can get
abusing
through.
their game.
You can get through both of the Fallout games without having to kill a lot of the important quest members. You just have to have the appropriate. You have to have the appropriate skills leveled up beforehand, and it's really difficult to do that without knowing like which ones you need when.
Do you mean like I've never played it, but like the
Um,
traits like persuasion and stuff like that, or
Well, I think they're just called basic skills, but you have like barter or science or speech, things like
Okay.
that. And if you have a certain, let's say you need 50 speech to convince this person not to, not to fight you, to defend his home or whatever, that you just want to be friends. But if you don't have it, when you first attempt it, you're not going to be able to talk to him again.
Yeah. There were a couple of times in Far Cry, actually. I was surprised that they gave me a couple of choices on whether or not to kill or to kill certain specific storyline characters, and then multiple opportunities to go back on that choice during that sequence again. Specifically the last guy.
they give you the opportunity, like, hey, I
No,
know you
really,
said you didn't
no.
want to kill him, but like,
no, really,
you
there's
just said some stuff about your mom. The gun's still in front of you. If you
Actually-
just saying.
white hair. He does say stuff about your mom because he was in love with your mom,
Oh,
and flies away in
Spoiler.
a helicopter. And they give you a rocket launcher as like you choose not to kill him. You choose to talk to him. You choose not to kill him again. And then he hops in a helicopter, and then you have a rocket launcher they just hand to you as it's flying away. Like, are you positive? Are you sure?
what did you do?
I let him go. I let him go because he was the best character in that entire game. He's the villain, and I should have killed him based on like the way that that game makes you like want to hate him forever and stuff like that. But out of respect for his voice actor, pretty much, I didn't kill him.
Rick, I have one that you may enjoy for non-lethal options.
Hmm.
Most of the Hitman games,
Yeah.
like the best way to do it is to not get noticed and to only kill your target. And that can be really challenging sometimes. Like those maps are friggin' nuts at times.
So my roommate's actually been playing a lot. It's one of the Hitman games. I don't remember which
Yeah.
one.
Mm-hmm.
They're a lot of fun too, and they can be kind of silly sometimes.
I've been go on.
No, go ahead.
I've been looking into like old RPGs to try to find that place where I can do stuff like that. Like I've heard Planescape Torment not only is like one of the best story RPGs ever, but like you only have to kill a very small number of people in that game. But the game's like those kinds. There's a lot of old RPGs that are more centered around actual morality instead of like pseudo morality that a lot of modern day RPGs get into.
Mhm.
And I guess maybe that's where I'm belong more from the kind of games that I want to play on that scale.
I feel like if you're looking for a game that offers you the ability to switch in and out of combat and also diplomatic options that basically just like solve problems in more than one sort of set way, especially if there's a morality system in that game and it feels weird and you're probably coming from that ludo narrative sort of perspective still.
Yeah.
I think the game that you're describing is Dungeons and Dragons, and it's a tabletop game.
Yeah.
You know,
that's so I wanted to do like because if we ever play that game together, which I hope we can get around to actually
this summer,
putting something together and streaming
this summer
it.
we should do that.
But yeah, I've always wanted to make like a halfling character that just talks to people
Yeah.
and totally like a huge liar, like no basis of morality, but
A Lannister.
but still doesn't kill anybody.
Yeah. That
Faints the sight of blood.
we could.
Oh no, it's fine with blood, just not as long as I just don't want to do it himself.
We can make that happen over the summer and stream the shit out of it. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think so.
See, what you were describing to me, Chris, when you were saying that is Fable 3,
Actually,
which
yeah, okay.
I personally didn't like, but you may really enjoy it, Rick.
Was that the one with? And I'm not gonna say what happens, but with the dog.
That's 2.
No, yeah, that's 2.
That's
Okay,
true.
then
That's the one
haven't
I've played.
Fable 3.
I've
Yeah.
played only 2.
Fable 3 is a large step away from Fable 2.
I've heard complaints
And
about all
from
of them.
Fable in general.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but bad things since Fable.
Well, okay, Fable 2 was really good.
Yeah.
Fable 1 was probably the best.
Fable 2 pulls a stupid trick on you. That ending is stupid, and it
Okay.
makes you make a dumb
Have
choice.
we? Nick and I like
Okay.
gush about this all the time.
Which one?
Yeah.
Wait, spoilers for Fable 2 because no one's gonna play it at this point.
Yeah.
Which one did you pick?
Is there a
picked the
choice other
dog.
than saving your fucking dog?
There is.
See, that's the dumb thing. It's like at that point in time, it's like, well, they want you like you can keep playing the game, and so it's like, am I gonna pick the dog or all these NPCs that mean nothing, because they're not real people? But this dog's a person, so I'll pick the dog. Like, yeah, you have to pick the dog,
That's the thing. So
but it's a false choice.
Yeah. Fable 2, your choices impact the game tremendously. If you make one wrong choice, you just will not have a pleasant time at the end.
Yeah.
So I would recommend playing that if you want to do that. So it's a Fable game halfway through, and then it changes into something completely different.
weird. It was
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Very, very, very weird. And I was
Um,
just like sitting there playing this game going, wow, I just want to restart and go back.
Yeah.
I just don't want to leave. Yeah. Well, it's not really the second half. It's more like the last 5%. Kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right
It's
at the end.
Yeah, it's a large difference.
The game should
in
have
the rest of the
ended
game.
before that next part. It should have just ended.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Thanks for bringing that back.
Hey, you're welcome.
Wow.
I'm sorry. And I'm sorry.
Speaking of games we've been playing recently, I'm not sure if Whitehair has something else he wants to move on to talk about.
No, I was actually going to use that to segue into mention you guys had played Assassin's Creed, and then maybe we could announce what we're going to be playing for.
Oh, Vaultcast?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I guess we can do that right now. But I wanna come back and talk about this other game I've been playing too at some point in time. We played Assassin's Creed Rogue in this last Vaultcast. So if y'all are members, you can go listen to that. It was pretty cool. Nick and I basically again just gushing over a game we both and a franchise we both like.
I thought it was a great episode.
It was, and it wasn't as biased as I thought it was gonna kind of come off as. Yeah, I think it's because we had Matt and he just wasn't into it. Yeah, but we're gonna be playing on popular demand, Talos Principle, which Henderson has already played and says is good.
How can people get
it gives
in
me
on that
the
voting?
same sense of satisfaction that Portal did when you complete the puzzles in it.
Yeah.
And it's not the same kind of puzzle solving as Portal, but it has a very similar feel to it. And it doesn't really have a comedic storyline. It's like neck deep in a very modern form of philosophy, it feels like to me. There's a lot of like AI stuff.
Yeah. Morality questions?
Yes.
Woo! Okay, well,
There's literally a computer terminal there that just asks you nothing but morality questions all game.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of it when I saw a giant bomb.
It's kind of an asshole.
Quick play?
Quick look.
They call them quick looks? Anyway,
Yeah.
but to answer your question, Rick, about the voting, you have to be a Vaultcast like listening member, pretty much.
Yeah. How do
So-
you get to be one of those?
Oh, you go to our Patreon page and support us there and get cool stuff like a podcast and a couple of other things like a newsletter that came out, the ability to impact the Vaultcast show, and a couple of other cool things too. Go check it out. That's patreon.com/warfinch, patreon.com/warfinch. Cool. Yeah, tell us, Principal.
That was a guiding question. But...
It was. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were like driving at a specific thing, like you actually
Yeah.
didn't know how people were.
No, I know.
I'm like, oh yeah, it's a straw poll, man. Don't worry about it. But I'm sorry, I'm talking so much this episode. I'm just really excited about this game I've been playing. I've been playing Shadow of Mordor. And
Excellent game.
I have not. Did you play it, Henderson?
Yes, I've played it through.
You played it through.
Yes.
Okay, great.
I beat it.
I get to ask you some questions then. Okay.
Okay.
Well, all right. So, basically,
I'm also a Lord of the Rings nut.
you
so.
are, and this is so I'm excited to. Oh boy, oh boy. So I am playing this game, and I'm not really into Lord of the Rings lore as much, but this game has me hooked because it's Assassin's Creed in Mordor. It's really, really fun, and the abilities that they give you later on in the game as you progress make that game so much better than when it was the beginning.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions. Where does this take place in the timeline? Is this after the events of the
After
books?
the Hobbit, before the Fellowship of the Ring.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mhm.
Because they're mentioning Sauron as like a evil wizard already.
But he was evil.
Well, he was in the Fellowship. He technically wasn't in the Hobbit. And I know I say evil.
They didn't know he had been corrupted by the
Yeah.
time that the Hobbit happened.
Was he
He's a good
corrupted
liar,
in the
though.
Hobbit?
I believe he found the Palantir that ended up corrupting him before then. And besides, it's kind of interesting because, okay, the wizards are something called Maiar, which are basically lesser spirits, if you will, kind of like a step above angels.
Yeah.
And Saruman was a Maiar that worked for Sauron. Long time ago. Oh no, not Sauron. He worked for Morgoth, maybe? I don't
That's
know.
it,
He worked
yeah,
for one
it's
of the two
Morgoth.
big
'Cause I was about to say,
big bads in the history of Lord of the Rings. But when that big bad that he worked for was taken down, either Sauron the first time or Morgoth way back when, they ended up, forgiving all of the people that worked for him and then just banishing Morgoth from existence, basically.
Yeah, it's his name was Melkor, then he changed it to Morgoth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So he was evil way back in the day, and then he found the Palantir, and Mr. McEyeman kind of was just like, hey, I heard you want to give me a hand here, and he ended up doing it, thinking like, oh, I can take this guy on, and nope.
So okay, I don't want to go into any spoilers, although I think you spoiled it for me once already. I think you did, because I told you I wasn't gonna play it again, but I ended up buying it for PC, and now I love it. I didn't like it on console, but it's hilarious. I'm using a fucking gamepad anyway.
I don't know. I liked it on the gamepad too. It was just felt.
Oh, it's a port pretty much from console to PC. It's the same way I feel about Assassin's Creed. But so he is fused with a wraith spirit of an ancient elven blacksmith called Celebrimbor, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there backup? Is there backstory I should know about him, other than what they explain?
Forged the rings.
Yes, I know that, but is there anything else that's important?
The game goes off the rails of actual timelines for Lord of the Rings. Like it
does?
just it takes liberties everywhere, doesn't it?
It makes. So they fit it inside of the timelines properly, but none of this is canon.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Really?
It's in the right time, but it's all nonsense.
Yeah, no, this is not canon, and nothing that happens here is a part of the official lore. But
that sucks. It's a really interesting story.
It's a
really good story.
But they took a gray area that isn't really talked about all that much. It's just oh shit, we're gonna do all this crazy shit here because fuck you, it's a video game.
Yeah.
Well, have there been previous wraiths or grave walkers, I suppose, like him before? No. And then also, what was the blood ritual for, and why were the black guards surprised about him?
They explain that sometime in the storyline.
Okay.
Every single one of those things is explained.
Okay, because they basically made the worst enemy for them. Because I'm flying around as a ghost man, punching Uruk in the face, and then also putting my hand over their schnoz and making them bend to my will, which is hilarious, by the way. Especially when you grab one of the worms, because they have the biggest weirdest scowling lips ever. You put their hand on their face, and then their face is and Celebrimbor was bend to my will, and it's just the funniest fucking thing in the world. Also, I love stylistically that the dagger is a broken sword.
Yeah, that is kind of a neat thing.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I'm talking way too much about bullshit.
Hey, but that's all right, man.
That's what the show is for.
Yeah, I'm glad you're liking the game. It's nice when games come out that people can get really into and stuff. I have been really enjoying a book that I bought a couple days ago. I read 100 pages of it in 2 days, so that's a lot for me.
Dude.
And it's called Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World, and it does this kind of interesting thing where it's got two stories that are happening simultaneously. And I noticed once I got to the 5th chapter, because it's alternating between each story with every chapter, and when you're on one of the stories, the top of the book says just Hard-Boiled Wonderland, and when you're on the other chapters it says the End of the World. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. One of them takes place in Tokyo with people using their minds to encrypt data and stuff. And then the other one takes place in this fantasy village with unicorns and people getting their shadows cut off. And it's completely fantasy, but they seem to mirror each other. And I think the fantasy one's a metaphor for what's going on in the other one. And it is super cool. It's the second book I've read by Haruki Murakami, and I'm really liking it. I think I'm going to definitely read more of his stuff.
I've only heard good things about him.
Yeah, I was actually funny. I was talking to my sister today, and she's because I had said that I was reading that, and she instantly knew what it was, and was oh, I have tons of his stuff too. He's really good. You should hit me up if you want to borrow any of it. So I think it's definitely going to be in the future for me, is reading more of his stuff, because I'm really liking it.
I also started a new book.
What's that one about?
It is called Pale Fire. It's by Vladimir Nabokov. It's by the same dude. He's the same guy who wrote Lolita, which is his most famous work. which, if you don't know what Lolita is about, it's about this dude who is basically becomes sexually involved with a child. Um,
Does anything ever actually happen in it? I thought he's just kind of like passively, like his life is okay. No
I have
spoilers.
not read it,
Oh,
so
okay.
I need to
Okay.
I need to read it at some point in time. But when my professors gave me this book, and it's basically the premise is there's a poet and he wrote in the last 2 weeks of his life 999 line poem, and he had a neighbor who had moved in 3 months before he died, next door. He like subleased or something, and the dude claims he wrote the foreword to the book and the bulk of the book, and he's like, oh, me and the poet became fast friends, and the poet just died, and then I got the rights to publish his book, and his widow got all the money, but basically he talks in the foreword that he got the book published. And so in the book there's a foreword explaining what happens, and there's the entirety of the poem, and then the bulk of the rest of the book is him annotating the poem, and talking about this fake land that he's from and how he's like a king, and about his house, and he basically like is a leech to this poem and makes it all about him in this really weird, screwed up way. It's really weird.
So let me just like make sure I got this right. So it's a guy who
Yes.
writes a poem before he dies,
Yes.
and then his neighbor then gets the rights to publish it and writes like a forward and an afterword, and the afterward he pretty much just explains that the whole poem was about him.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, like they're both like academics, but I'm becoming very quickly convinced that this guy who wrote all this commentary on the poem is a very not good academic, and he's just kind of full of garbage. It's
what is
weird.
the tone of the whole thing? Like, is it
It's
dark? Is it?
it's comical. It's just funny because like he'll do stuff like there'll be it's like it's written in stanzas,
Mhm.
and usually when you annotate something like you pull out like a certain word, right? Or like a certain little phrase that means something important. Like usually it's something that kind of stands out in relation to the rest of the text. He'll do stuff like the guy will use the words like parents, and he'll start talking about other stuff. He'll like pull out like the word often without giving like looking at the context to it, and just start talking about how often he was afraid that somebody was going to kill him. Like it has it I don't know what it is. Like it's just this weird thing.
You know what that sounds like to me? That
Hmm.
sounds like I don't know if you ever did this, but like when you get assigned a reading thing in high school and you're supposed to annotate it and you don't do it, but then like 30 minutes before class in study hall you're trying to annotate an entire chapter, so you're doing it really really badly, and like you're just like skimming through and like, oh, that looks like it's important, like underline it, jot some notes in the margin, like without really paying attention to the context of it. Like that almost reminds me of that like line of like thinking that I
Yeah,
saw so many people do
it
in
seems
high
like he's
school.
doing that, but instead of jotting a couple notes, he'll write like 10 pages. And it's just funny because it's like, what is this guy even talking about? Like, he'll talk about birds for like 3 pages, and it's like, what the fuck
Uh,
does this have to do with
yeah,
anything?
who talks about
Who
birds
talks
for
about
that
birds
long?
that
For
much?
10
Why
Wow,
would
what
you
pages,
the
ever
yeah.
do
fuck?
that?
Weird.
You have to be a fucking nerd. I'll tell you what.
uh, well, yeah, that's I don't know, man. That's weird. It's weird stuff.
You'll have to let us know how the whole thing like plays out, and
I want to
if like
hear
we can
like
discern anything like from his like thoughts like as it goes
according
on.
according to my teacher, by the end, you're not sure if the dude who's annotating it has killed the poet or not. He
Oh
said
boy.
that
That's what
he's
it
like, you
sounded
can't.
like. That's what it sounded like you were leading up to at the beginning, like how he gets the rights, but it's weird that the widow gets all the money.
Yeah, and like you don't like that's apparently by the end you just can't be sure what really happened.
Okay.
Um, but
Hmm.
I'm curious in your book how they kind of reconcile those two separate worlds. Like I wonder if it crosses over ever or
Yeah, so okay, the thing that's really interesting about it is the narrator in both of these two things has never been called by his first name, and it's all in first person. And so like there's nothing, like it could be two separate people, but the way that the narrator speaks and the way that the narrator reacts to things in both stories seems pretty consistent. So it leads me to believe it's the same person, but each has no like recollection of the other world and stuff. So it's interesting. Like I feel like it's the same person in two completely different lives. and like also like different worlds. So yeah, I'm really interested as to how like they're going to come together, because there's got to be some connection. Like it's not just going to be two completely different stories that he just wrote and decided to publish in the same book and split them 50-50. So yeah, I'm really interested. I will update you guys next week on bookcast.
And if any of our fans have like suggestions for books that kind of do stuff like what Alex's book or my book has been doing, because they're both playing with form in a weird way to achieve an effect, I'd love to hear more suggestions for those kind of things, because that's the kind of stuff I'm interested in.
I'm still working on that Templar history book, if anybody cares.
Yeah, how's that going?
How's that going?
It's fine. I'm finally starting to get to. They just lay it up.
Templars?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't yet. The first chapter is called The Temple, and then pretty much, or the New Temple, and it was a basic history of ancient Rome and ancient Christendom, and like where they got to be where they were. And then I turned the next page for the next chapter, which is when you and I left Starbucks White Hair, because we had a mandate and we sat and read and drank coffee, like fucks. And then
hey man,
it's
so do you understand Assassin's Creed yet?
No. Hey, I'm not there yet. And then the next chapter was called The Rival Temple, and now they're doing the same thing for ancient Islam. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. I want to read about Templars. That's why I bought this book. But I'm 60 pages in, they haven't mentioned anything. It's pretty dense. Like,
I've got a narrative book for you if you're interested. That kind of inspired Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, it was what was it called? Because I think I bought I bought the ebook version of that. I need to read that.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's cool. Are we gonna? We should do.
We're about to move into questions, because it's about that time of the night where we start wrapping things up. We have a question, actually several, from Lucas, and the funny thing is most of these aren't really anything we can address on here. He wanted to know about Interstellar. He's like, yeah, nobody had seen it except Hillman. Have you guys seen it now, and can you talk about it? And I don't think that's really changed. Okay, so
I still have yet to see it.
I really love that movie.
And so did Hillman, so maybe we should all just try to watch that movie.
Like I've got access to it. If we want to like meet up and we can just watch Interstellar and do dumb shit one weekend.
I'm still trying to find the version that has the IMAX cuts in it too, because I guess like the iTunes ones cuts it down to 16:9, so they just cut out the rest of the IMAX. And it's like, ugh. Like, I don't mind the changing aspect ratio. I don't want, like... Because some of the scenes were filmed in IMAX and some weren't. So...
Okay, yeah, because it has to use completely separate cameras, right? Like when
IMAX cameras weigh like a ton or something. Something ridiculous. At least they used to.
I honestly can't tell the difference on the version that I have.
Then your version doesn't have the IMAX cuts in it. It's just like you miss part of the scale of what they're filming. Like it just crops the image so it'll be 16:9. So you miss the extra sides. Yeah, I think there's like the Blu-ray version has the IMAX things. It'll just like change so it'll just show like more black bars on the screen, but you see the full image still. Yeah. I should do that.
It's an extremely
through our affiliate link
in pretty much any version.
The other thing that he wanted to know, we had talked about anime before, and he was hoping for an episode where we could maybe assign some homework, almost like each of us pick like a show or something and say like these are going to be the shows we talk about, and like announce it weeks before we do our anime episode, and then like people would actually have some time to check them out before we extensively talk about them. That's an idea. I don't know. I personally am not that into anime, but I could give that a shot. But that's something we'll definitely keep in mind. And then finally, he asked the sitting down, standing up question, which we are not getting into.
We're not getting. We've done this before.
Sit down.
Listen to the way he words this though. He goes, "Finally, in an earlier episode, you talked about wiping. Apparently, half the world wipes standing up and the other half sitting down, and both can't believe the other exists. Sit up and stand." Just
That's
like,
clever.
oh man,
Where do you stand on
he
it?
knows
That's
exactly
clever.
what he's doing. But yeah, so I just we didn't really have any questions to exactly answer from you, but I wanted to let you know that we did get your email, and we're glad you're writing in. Blake wants to know if any of us have seen Psycho Pass.
Psycho? Let me Google
Yeah,
this.
I don't even know what that is. Rick, you on it? You gonna look that up?
Yeah, it popped. Oh, it is. It looks like I'm gonna make it
looks like an
anime. Yeah.
Okay.
It looks like an anime. It is a Japanese anime television series. Yeah, series was licensed by Funimation in North America, so you know,
Oh boy.
in good hands. Yeah. No,
Um,
I think the answer is no. None of us
yeah,
have
the
ever even
no
heard
is
of that.
Yeah.
Well, no, but I have a new one on my list now because I need to make it through Fate Zero. And oh Christ, what else am I watching right now?
Fate Stay Night.
No, I've already made it through Fate Stay Night.
Oh, I just finished
Would
watching
not
it past
recommend.
week. Really? I really liked it.
Well, Fate Zero is the newer one of it, and Fate Stay Night, it felt old, man.
Oh, really?
Like I watched through it, and it did not age well. Fate
I
Zero,
thought-
I'm told, is the better version in every way, shape, and form.
I thought Fate Zero was older.
Hold on, I might have them backwards.
All right. Well, while you're looking that up, Blake had
Nope,
another
Fate Zero's
question.
the new
Yeah.
one.
Really?
Yup.
Yeah, you're right.
Blake had another question, and I'm googling it so I can actually read the official thing. But apparently, he says YouTube is working on a subscription type thing that you can have where people will pay money to not have to watch ads. And he wants to know how we feel about this. So I'm looking right now at an article about this. So it would be offering, let's see, a paid subscription that would give you ad-free videos and the ability to store videos offline on your mobile devices at the expected price of around $10 a month.
I wouldn't do it.
I'd do it. But I agree with Chris. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's their cut?
Or, yeah.
I'd rather pay to a specific channel. Like, I'd rather be like, Total Biscuits channel, I'll give you like $1 because that's more than you're gonna get from me in ad money.
Well, how about this, though? So let's think of it this way, right? So YouTube right now like exists because of the creators, right? Like they're the ones that drag the people in to make them watch ads, and that's how YouTube makes its money, as well as these YouTube creators. So if people start paying $10 to YouTube to avoid ads, it's still these creators that are drawing these people in and encouraging them to pay the $10 a month. So it would make sense that YouTube give them a cut and say like maybe for like, you know, they can track how many of your viewers had this subscription. So for every viewer who is a paid YouTube subscriber, you get like this much money. And if they make that comparable to how much money you would get for a viewer watching an ad, I see no problems with it. And I think that could work. The only place where that starts to fail is if you have somebody who's like a serial YouTuber and does nothing else, who's paying like $10 a month and watching so many videos and like bypassing so many ads, like that they're causing YouTube to like quote unquote lose money, because like had they just been experiencing the ads, they would have generated like more revenue. Yeah, like not. Yeah. So as long as the average person is watching like less than $10 worth of like ad revenue or whatever, then this is a great move for YouTube and for YouTube creators, I think.
Which I think most people aren't worth that much in their ad viewing.
I think so too. Yeah. So I think if that's the case, I think this is a great idea.
I just wish I could direct the money myself, like at a
Like
certain
Twitch, like you
yeah,
could do there.
like because my fear is that if I'm paying $10 a month, but my views towards a channel like I don't know like Crip, you and I both Game Grumps or Crip, Alex and I both watch Crip's Hearthstone stuff,
Hmm.
and it's like there are ads before that, but I don't think that my watching that ad is worth like a penny. I think it's worth less than a penny. I don't think it's worth that much, and so my fear is like if I'm giving $10 a month to YouTube itself, like he's getting less than if I had just donated like $2 to him directly, or like $2 to his channel where he gets a significant cut of that. You know what I mean? Like, no, I'm just saying that's my fear is that I'm gonna give a lot of money directly to them, and then the people who are going to benefit from it are gonna get less than if they set it up as like a per channel basis. Content ID.
Ooh, I actually have bad news. As I'm
What's the
reading
bad
on,
news?
it looks like, and this isn't an official like thing. This hasn't rolled out. It's all subject to change. But
Yeah.
it looks like it might be that creators, in order to get a cut of the subscription money, will need to set videos to be private so that only people with subscriptions can see them.
Oh, I refuse. I'm no
Yeah,
way.
that sounds
Yeah,
ridiculous.
That's
that's really weird.
like I get what they're trying to do. Like they're trying to create like what Giant Bomb does with premium stuff. Like I think that's what like it's like a similar thing, but that's nuts for some people who like for a YouTube change that's like somebody like Total Biscuit who's built his entire channel on not making premium content. Like that kind of shift. Like you'd have to come in at the ground level. Like it worked for us maybe because we haven't done heavy video stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
the giants of it, like what is PewDiePie going to start making private videos? Like no. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like that destroys the goodwill of your viewer base.
Yeah, it turns the entire production system on its head in a bad way.
Yeah.
Well, from what I've heard too, there's a lot of YouTube creators who are getting really, really frustrated with YouTube and looking for other platforms to do it, or to release their content through, because their YouTube does a really weird thing where the only way your video will be like shown to other people, like on the sidebar and stuff, and recommended through autoplay, is if your video draws people to watch other videos on YouTube. Like YouTube wants to keep you on YouTube as much as possible. So if you have a video that says like, hey, click here for more info and redirects to like your personal website, YouTube registers that as a video that drove people away and ranks it lower on its list and makes it so that it's less likely to pop up on the thing. So you could have a really successful video that's like really good and that a lot of people watch, but it won't be recommended to other people on YouTube because it drives people away from the site
Right.
versus keeps them like, oh, click on this other video that's kind of related, um, which is kind of weird. And for the
Poopy.
most part, it's not a problem. But for some people, like depending on what you're trying to use YouTube for, that is a big problem, and it makes it really hard to get your stuff out there when YouTube explicitly like hides it because you don't keep people on YouTube.
But from YouTube's point of view, that makes total sense. Why would you want, or why would you treat videos that you are losing money, or I guess losing the opportunity to make more money from, instead of just posting a related video that will continue to keep, the customer on the website?
I guess it depends on the way people use YouTube. Like I don't use it for recommended videos. I know what I'm going in for. Like I
Mm-hmm.
go for my subscriptions and that's it.
It's rare that I stumble onto a new channel or place that I'm actually interested in.
The only time I do is through people I already watch. Like they'll say
Mhm.
this guy did this thing,
Mm-hmm.
this video that I'm commenting on or I'm trying to draw like build on, and I'll be like, oh, I'll go watch that, and then I'm like, oh, this is interesting,
Yeah,
but
but
never like through recommended stuff.
even then, you
Well,
might see something on the side where it's like, oh, Crip came out with a video about Emperor Tharasin. I'm gonna check that out real quick. I mean, that's, I think, one of the best examples. It's content from the creator that is, keeping you on YouTube instead of you going to somewhere else.
Well,
I mean, I don't know. I understand it from a business perspective, but it's pretty frustrating, I think. I feel
Yeah,
like
no, I completely agree that it's frustrating, but it's, at the end of the day, YouTube's a business.
yeah.
And if they do something that's going to make them more money, you can't really be upset at that.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
well, I mean, we can get upset about it. We just can't hold it. I mean, we can hold it against them.
I mean,
We can't
at a
just
certain
say it
point in
doesn't make
time,
sense.
the question becomes like YouTube's a business, but they don't make themselves any money at all. So
They've also, yeah, that's true. They rely on other people, but they also kind of have a monopoly right now. There isn't a rival
Yeah.
YouTube.
I don't think there ever can be, at least until YouTube falls,
Yeah.
because just like the barrier to getting into the ad stuff is so fucking high.
Well, also because people aren't going to stop using Google, and then Google will always promote YouTube first because it's owned by them. So
Until Google falls, which could happen at some point.
I don't
It
think
looks
so.
like
Yeah,
it looks
Bing's
like
gonna
Hulu's launching a new website.
Hulu?
Yeah, called Vessel.com.
Really?
And it looks like it's still in its early stages. You can't get in. Yeah, it's in early access. So right now you can only get in by paying a subscription, but it's looking like it's going to be something similar to YouTube or like very creator driven.
Is
it'll
it
be
going to show
interesting.
me ads after I subscribe?
I don't know.
There's a
That's
machinima button.
something that upsets me about Hulu.
Hulu, yeah.
If
Yeah.
I see like a show or a movie is on only Hulu, I just won't watch it. It's not
I-
worth it to me.
I get why Hulu does that for new shows. Like when you have Hulu Plus or something, and it lets you get to see shows that were on yesterday that you wouldn't normally get to see. Like I get that why you'd want to still watch like they'd make you watch ads for it. It's with older stuff. That's when it gets into like CD territory.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, what am I like? I'm paying for access, but
Paying for access and I still have to watch ads.
Oh, here we go. So Vessel is a premium streaming service aimed at building new businesses for YouTube stars and other popular video creators. For $2.99 a month, Vessel gives subscribers early access to videos that will eventually be posted on YouTube and elsewhere.
okay.
So it looks like it's just an alternate way for people to release their content and monetize.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Competition's good for this kind of thing.
People like Phil DeFranco or SXE Phil, Glozell Green, and I don't know who Trey Melvin is, but I knew the other two.
There's a machinima picture on this Vessel homepage.
Yeah, I saw that.
So that's something. I don't know if machinima holds a lot of weight these days, but it's something. There's a cyanide and happiness picture. I don't
A
know.
lot of people aren't too happy with machinima these days.
Didn't they treat the creators like shit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't Donkey have a falling out with Machinima?
Yeah, a bad one.
Well, the thing about Machinima was though, like you had to be partnered with somebody to get your permission, like to get the permissions to monetize video game things. And like you could either individually go to the companies that make the games themselves and like get approval that way, or you could join one of the big like conglomerates like Machinima, who then like extend like their license to you as a creator through them, but they get a cut of your stuff. So that was kind of what Machinima did, and they just had this huge monopoly of anybody who wanted to create game content that used games that like were copyright protected. And yeah, it seemed just really shitty that you had to go through them, and it seemed like they treated people like garbage too. But yeah. Hey, so it's about that time for us to end. We're actually 10 minutes over. Oh boy. So if you would like to watch any other episodes, or I guess I should say listen, there's no video, or follow any of our other stuff, we have a blog, we have other podcasts, all kinds of neat stuff going on at warfinch.com. Go check it out. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/casualcast. If you have a question you'd like us to address, or maybe it's something personal, we can get it forwarded to the right people and we can respond. Whatever, just shoot us an email at casualcastshow@gmail.com, and we would love to hear from you. But that's going to be it for this. Oh,
do you mind if I pimp out the blog posts for this week? Because I wrote the last one. If you're listening to this and you want some book suggestions, the last blog post at warfinch.com/blog is a bunch of books. So you should go there and look at our blog. Do it.
You should.
Yeah, That's it. Just
All right, well, that's it for this week. We will see you the next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Stream viewers, we'll be back in 10-ish minutes for LeagueCast episode 172. Don't go nowhere. We also are going to have a special guest this